Welcome back to the Auxano Lounge. We have a special guest today, Mr. Mark Ehrenburg, joining us. Mark, say hello to our audience.
Thank you, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, man. Mark's no stranger to the spotlight. A police officer, you're all over the news a couple years ago, right before a car exploded, I think.
Yeah.
You had pulled somebody out. I got quite a bit of coverage and acclaim there. And the reason that you're here with us today is we try to focus on fascinating people, fascinating stories. That story pales in comparison to what you've gone through recently. So if we rewind 4 months ago?
About 4 months ago, November 24th.
4 months ago, you were laying on the floor of the woods, paralyzed.
Yep.
Couldn't move, trying to figure out a way to call somebody.
Yeah.
And here we are 4 months later, back to full duty on the PD, back to full exercise, jiu-jitsu, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I have been fascinated by your story and that transition and want to make sure that we do our part in sharing that with everybody, both from inspiration and motivation. So
Thank you.
yeah, to get started, let's start right there in that moment and what led up to it. I know that might be a painful piece for us to talk through, both literally and figuratively. but tell us what happened and what led to you, laying there staring up at the stars.
So a couple years before that, all my buddies were like, dude, you got to start hunting. You got to start hunting. I'm like, okay. Never was really into it. But I'm like, all right, I'm always working. Time to try to do something other than work constantly. So I'm not going to get hurt, it's no big deal. So I have this target buck that's on my camera. I've been hunting this thing for all season. So I'm up there. Here comes this buck. He's about 50 yards out. He's in thick brush. I don't have a shot.
How far in are you? Like, are you close to...
I'm hunting on my property.
Okay.
I live in a very rural area. I'm up in the stand. I got about 15 minutes left of light. So deer's not coming in. So I'm like, all right, he's close enough where I don't want to spook him. So I'm going to wait till it's pitch black. Then I'll climb out. So he'll hear me, but he's not going to see me come out of the stand. In theory, it was great. Good idea. So long story short, I'm trying to get out of the stand. I have a harness on when I'm up in the stand, but I don't have anything coming out of the stand. So I reach down. I get both my feet on the ladder. I'm about 25 feet in the air. Go to reach down to grab the ladder and swing my arm around the tree to hug it to now shimmy down the tree. Well, when I went to go reach for the ladder, I missed the ladder and it threw me off balance. Well, of course, I was racing an invisible person trying to get out of the stand, and I had both hands not connected to a tree. And as soon as I went to go do that, I lost my balance. I went to go grab it again. And when I went to go grab it, it pushed me back farther. Next thing you know, I'm flying in the air for what felt like an hour. Pitch black, couldn't see the ground, could not see anything. Next thing you know, boom, land on my heels. My feet are pointed up in the air, but my chest is laying on the ground.
What?
Yeah. My back is gone at this point.
What?
Yeah, it's not connected. My vertebrae, as we'll get into it, is exploded. So I'm laying there and my legs feel like they're being electrocuted. Like I have no feeling. I can't move them. I can't do anything. But they feel like they're being electrocuted. It was the weirdest sensation I have ever felt my entire life. My back feels like somebody parked a bulldozer on top of it. Like the crushing pain was to where I felt like I was going to throw up or pass out. And I didn't want to throw up because the pain was so bad that that's going to make it even worse.
To do that.
Yeah. And I didn't want to pass out because then I don't know if I'm going to wake up, But when I landed, I was breathing, and I'm like, I don't know if you've ever heard the Jocko Willink, where he does the good if you're still breathing.
Yeah.
And it literally flashed through my mind. I'm like, all right, I still got this. I'm good. Breathing. So my harness, I had all my things in my harness. The only thing that was left in my harness that didn't fall out was my phone. Again, it's pitch black. So if that would have fell, I'm in big trouble. So I call my wife. my daughter, Mia, answers the phone. And she's like, hey, Dad. I'm like, put your mother on the phone. So my wife's cooking dinner. You know, it's Black Friday. We're going to spend the whole weekend together. It's going to be a good weekend. Well, call her and I'm like, babe, I'm paralyzed. I fell out of the stand. Call 911. She just says, okay, hangs up the phone. Not like, okay, like joking around, like, okay, like quickly hangs up the phone. I hear our gator start up, our UTV. Next thing you know, I see the headlights. I'm about 50, 70 yards into the woods. And now I start hearing sirens. So I'm like, all right, she called 911. Okay, they're coming. Just hang in there. Just hang in there. So she gets up there and she's like, I got to call 911 back and meet them down at the end of the road. Our driveway's really long and I'm up in the woods. So they need to know where I am. So she leaves and I'm like, my kids are crying. I can hear them screaming in the car because it was on speaker. So now they're panicked. You know, it was the worst feeling you could ever describe because now I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm paralyzed. I can't move my legs. I keep feeling a sensation running down my left leg. I'm thinking that my femur compound fractured and there's femoral arteries. I'm thinking I might be bleeding out right now. Later find out nothing broke. I actually urinated myself when I landed because I hit so hard.
Wow.
So I'm just like, I'm stuck. Like I've never been in a situation where I'm screwed. Like I'm not getting up from this. Like I'm not walking out of here. I'm not going to go to bed and wake up and be a little sore tomorrow. Like I'm in big trouble. And I'm saying to myself, you know, during this situation, you don't think about the bills. You don't think about all the stupid things, the material things. I'm thinking, I have a family. How am I going to protect my kids? How am I going to support them? How am I, like, all these things that really do matter, and I'm going to be a burden on my family for the rest of my life. I'm paralyzed. From the waist down, from my belly button down, there's nothing. Like, I have no hips. Nothing. So finally, the ambulance gets there. Cops get there. One of the guys that I train with in jiu-jitsu shows up, and I'm like, hey, Jim, like, I'm messed up. He's like, we're going to get you out of here.
I'm going to be out this week.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, I'm going to be hurt.
We can make that joke now, right? Yeah. Okay.
So they show up. The ambulance shows up. Paramedics show up. State police show up. I mean, Blairstown PD, the fire department, everybody's there. My field that is up before my woods is just filled with emergency vehicles. So the good thing was my wife calls her sister, and her husband, soon-to-be husband, I should say, is a police officer too. He contacted state police and said, listen, you need to land a bird at Blairstown Airport. He's got to get flown. So from what I understand, when Blairstown PD called, they're like, we already have one in the air. So I get there, or I get into the ambulance, medic's there. Let me put it this way. Being put on a backboard when you're paralyzed and your back's broke is the most excruciating thing in the
So they had to unfold you.
They had to they literally had to carefully twist me in a collar. The pain is just excruciating.
Was your wife there at this point?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So she's watching all this. And they carry me out of the woods. They get me into the ambulance. The paramedic's like, how bad's the pain from scale of 1 to 10? I'm like, I can't describe to you how bad this pain is. He's like, all right. He gives me, I think it was 300 milligrams of morphine. It did nothing.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, did nothing. So we're driving, and every bump going to the helicopter is just like somebody's just taking a baseball bat and just hit me in the back. Like, it is just excruciating. So we get to the airport, get to the bird. I meet the flight medic or the nurse, whoever it was. He's like, how bad's the pain? I'm like, I can't describe to you. He gives me another 300 of fentanyl. Now, it got me to the point where I could take a breath. Like, that's how bad the pain was. Like, I was trying to breathe, but the whole time, every time I breathed, my chest would expand, and my lower back was just, all that pressure kept pushing on it.
Oh, man.
Were there any points in there that you don't remember, or were you totally?
I was
in
totally
it
conscious.
that
When I
whole
landed the
time?
whole bit, like when I landed, I heard the crunch, all the wind got knocked out of me, and I immediately just, the vibration and that electric feeling in my legs was just, but it was it was the most surreal feeling because I can't feel anything, like the sensations there, but I can't move them, can't feel them. You could have drove a stake through my leg. I'm not gonna feel it. All the pain stopped right at my back. Like there was nothing after that.
What was the distance on the fall, by the way?
It was about 25 feet.
25 feet.
Yeah.
Goodness.
What was even worse, I couldn't even brace for it because it's pitch black. I had no idea when I was going to hit.
Right.
So it was just, boom, that's it. Broke, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know? And then we get on the helicopter. That pilot, I've never seen somebody fly a helicopter. It felt like I was there in 5 minutes. They flew me right to Morristown. I landed. There was a team there. They get me in. They strip me down. They confirm I'm not bleeding out. Because, again, I'm in a full jumpsuit. So, I have, they when I was up in the woods, they checked, but they didn't take everything off of me. So they get me into x-rays, get me all these, I was for hours sitting there taking all sorts of pictures. They're like, listen, you broke your back. You severed your spinal cord. We're waiting for the doctor. And all I kept saying is, this is surreal. Like, and all I kept thinking is, I can't wait to go under anesthesia because this pain is so bad. Like, I just need a break. You know? I need a break because it was just, I hope nobody ever has to go through that again.
Wow.
But I know people will, but it's just unreal. Like, it was an incomplete, from, I'm no doctor, but it was an incomplete spinal cord severed. I guess what happened, I explained it the best. You ever seen like a hydraulic cord get sliced? It's like a straw. You cut halfway through it. The spinal fluid is just puking out because it's not making a full contact all the way down past the break. And then my vertebrae grenaded. Like there was nothing left. I don't have a vertebrae anymore. There's now a steel cage in there. Wow. There's nothing.
Currently, you're saying?
Yeah. Yep. My whole lower back is fused with rods and screws with a cage now that's inside.
So you're there. They tell you this. Doctor comes in, gives you that news. How long before you're in surgery?
Almost immediately. They weren't wasting any time. I want to say my surgery started around 11, 12 o'clock. I got out of surgery at 6, and I saw the doctor. A lot of this is a blur because, I was on so much medication. So many things were going on. But I remember when I woke up, the doctor's there, and he's like, hey, surgery went well. We sewed your spinal cord back together. You now have rods and screws in your back. You don't have a vertebrae anymore. I don't know if you're ever going to walk again. We got to see how this goes. My wife's there, and I just start crying. I'm like, I'm not somebody that's going to sit here and be in a wheelchair. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, I don't care if I got to staple 2x4s to my legs. I'm walking again. So the doctor tells me we're going to see how this goes, see if you have any movement, see if you have any feeling. And all I just kept telling myself is, you're going to walk again. You're going to walk again. There's no way around it. You've been tested before. Not like this, but you've been tested before. You're going to do it.
Was that immediate?
What's that?
Was that immediate?
Yeah.
So you didn't even have a moment of, woe is me, or I may never walk?
No. I'm not a victim. I'm not going to be.
Beautiful, bro.
I'm not. Once I second guess myself, I'm already losing.
Right.
I'm going to walk again. I don't care what it takes, what I have to do. I'm walking again. My family needs me for my own sanity, I'm not gonna sit here and woe is me for the rest of my life living this way. I'm not doing it. I don't care what I have to. If I have to walk on my hands for the rest of my life, I'll do it.
It's awesome.
I'm just, it's not me. So
I talked to somebody who spoke to you like right after that, and that conversation was directly in line with what you're telling me, and that like next day, it's like I don't care what happens, I'm walking out of here. So the doctors are saying one thing, and just in your mind there was no other option.
No.
And it was full speed ahead to that. And part of the reason we felt that this story would be so inspirational to so many people is that your mindset set you up to have a result, right? And the question is that nobody will know is that if you had a different mindset, would it have played out the same way, and would it have played out in the same time frame, right? And we can ask ourselves, do we know many people in those types of situations who say, "Oh, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to do that," and then it happens? And the answer to that is that's not very common, right?
Yeah.
But the people who are just laser focused, tunnel vision on the outcome and the goal, which is often the type of person that connects here at this table, is what ends up having these outcomes that everybody's just like, wow, is that real? Right? Because if they don't talk to you, say somebody was totally paralyzed, crushed vertebrae, gone, severed spinal cord, 4 months, full duty, rolling jiu-jitsu, whole nine, you'd be like, no way.
standard proof.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's so important people hear it from the source. So let's go there. You come out of surgery, you start, I'm assuming, like PT in the hospital.
So no, I was in the hospital for 7 days. The first surgery happened where they just put the rods and bolts into my back.
Was that night one?
That was night one.
Okay.
So the doctor tells me, all right, you might never walk again. We're going to see what happens from here. Okay. So I'm trying to move my legs. I'm immediately trying to move my legs. Like,
what is that? If you can translate that, what does that feel like? What does that look like? Trying to move your legs. Like, is it just in your mind? Are you staring at them? Are you physically moving them? Like,
I look at a broomstick and try to tell it to move across the room. Like, that's what it's like. Like, it's not going to listen, but that's what you're doing. I sat there and stared at my legs, mentally and physically with all my strength, just kept telling myself, move your leg, move your leg, move your leg, move your leg. By the second day, I was able to kind of lift my right foot, just wiggle it just a little bit. And I'm talking that's hours put in to try to move that leg.
Oh my goodness.
Was
Was anyone in the room when
My
that
wife.
first? What did she do?
She was like, oh my God. Because I look at her, I'm like, babe, check this out. Look what I can do. I'm pumped. I'm so excited.
the bars come down quite a bit from Thursday, but we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Again.
Well, I'm sitting there. I'm like, look what I can do. I'm doing this. I'm going to make this happen. This recovery story is going to be wild, right?
Oh my goodness.
All right, I got my right leg. Now it's time for my left. I'm working on both legs the whole time. Doctor comes in. He's like, how you doing? I'm like, Doc, check this out. Look at my right foot. He's like, okay, we're going to do the next surgery. I'm like, what's that? He's like, now we're going to go through your stomach and we're going to take all the bone fragments out that's inside of you, because hopefully that's going to eliminate some of your nerve blockage and everything that's in your intestine. Like, because when I mean my back exploded, everything just like a grenade went off. So the next day, they scheduled me for surgery. They went in through my stomach, took everything out of my stomach out, pulled all the bone fragments out, and that's when they put the cage in. So the cage looks kind of like a lollipop. You can adjust it at the top and the bottom. So now it presses both up and down to center your spine and keep everything from, compacting when you move. So they finished that surgery. The next day, I wake up and I start trying to move my feet again. I was able to now move my left toe. I'm talking with a microscope, you could see it, but I knew it moved. All right, it's working.
Game on.
Game on. My hips don't work, my hip flexors don't work, my quads don't work, my legs, nothing works, but game on. Let's go. So they're like, well, we're going to do a little PT. PT in the hospital was a joke, but they're like, we're going to do a little PT. We're going to try to get you to stand up to get in this chair.
Stand up. All I did was move a toe so far. Now I'm standing.
Listen, okay, let's go. Let's go. So they go to get me up. I almost fall over because my hip, people don't realize when you're paralyzed from the waist down, like nobody understands how important your hips are, your hip flexors. Like you take it for granted. You're like getting up to go get a cup of coffee or go get a bottle of water. Like there's so much that's involved in that in your body that you don't realize because your body just does it. I go to sit up. Well, now my core is just from my belly button down. So now I have nothing here. So now I'm falling over. You know, they have this brace on me, but they're like trying to stop me from moving so fast because I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm just going to stand up and go sit in this chair. That didn't exactly work that way, but I got in the chair eventually.
Wow.
You know, with a lot of assistance, but it was just in my head, check. All right, you got in the chair. Okay, next. So as that went on, stayed in the hospital.
What are you telling yourself during all of this? And is it constant? Is it once an hour, like, okay, you're going to do this, and watching TV? Is it like, what's the mental game? Because so people tuning in here, one of the things we love to do is take these lessons that hopefully most people don't have to put themselves through and experience. Mm-hmm. How do we apply them to different parts of life, day-to-day business, things like that, right? So, you know, people find themselves often in a tight squeeze, nothing like this, but if it is business, right? If it's a shift in the landscape of how business is flowing, if it's a family challenge, tragedy, something like that, how did your mentality in those couple weeks, in the most important time, how did that play out? And did you take breaks? Did you, just tell yourself what you wanted the whole time? How connected were you to the reality of the situation? Maybe just touch a little bit on. So at that point,
you kind of said it. Time. The more I sit here and don't try, the more time I'm wasting. The more time it's going to take me to get better. I'm not wasting any time. Of course, when I was exhausted and couldn't bear the strength to try to move my legs anymore, I take my break, but and I'm not exaggerating, every chance I had where I had the strength to just try to move a little bit, that's what I did. People would be talking to me, visiting me in the hospital, and they're talking to me, but I'm engaged in the conversation the whole bit, but I'm thinking to myself also while I'm talking to them, all right, try to keep moving this leg. Just keep trying to move. Try to move your foot back and forth. Just wave it a little bit. Anything. And all I kept telling myself is the longer you sit like this, the longer you procrastinate trying to get yourself moving again, the longer this is going to take you.
All right.
And I'm a pretty impatient person to begin with. So I want results like immediately.
Yeah.
So that's all I kept telling myself. The longer you sit in this bed, the worse this is going to be.
You got to worry about atrophy too, right? Like that must happen like instantaneously, especially with your stomach being opened up. So now you have virtually no core strength that goes away in an instant, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, the worst pain of the whole thing of the surgeries was my stomach. I mean, because for one, I'm on all these pain medications. You're not going to the bathroom. Your stomach's bloated. So it's just pressing against these stitches. Your stomach was just put back together. So now everything's all twisted and just, it was the most uncomfortable thing in the entire world.
Yeah.
But I had to put it aside. Like, that's not my problem right now. My problem is my legs don't work. So we got to get these legs moving.
It's awesome.
Whatever it's going to be.
You kind of touched on this before when you were kind of running through what was important as you laid there folded in half. A lot of people in various aspects of life, people who perform at a high level, either in a moment or over time, have a why attached to that, a big why. Mm-hmm. So during this time, I think it's safe to say that the why wasn't really about you for you. What was your why? What was going through your mind?
My biggest why was I'm an extremely lucky person. I have a beautiful wife. My kids are the best. Like, I have great, beautiful kids. Like, for them to see me sitting in a wheelchair, being the guy that was working all the time, working out all the time, trying to be an example, to now see me sitting in a wheelchair, not being able to walk, crushed me. You know, I'm not the guy for people to be helping. I'm the guy everyone calls to help. And it was the most demoralizing thing in the world. I mean, I can't even go to the bathroom without somebody helping me. Like, I try to explain that to people. Try to go to the bathroom and not be able to use your legs. It's impossible. It takes a lot to learn how to do it. It sucks. And I'm going to sit here and be a burden on my family for the rest of my life? No. I'm here to take care of you. You're not here to take care of me. I'm not going to take this victim mentality and say, well, all right, I lived a good life. I'm 36 years old. Like, no, it's not happening. It's not even in the cards. I don't care what I have to do. It's not in the cards. Before I even got out of the hospital, I'm like, Doc, listen, if my legs don't work, I'm cutting them off because they're just in the way now. Like, he's like, easy. Like, relax.
He said before we got started, he's like, I was thinking I might have to put like 2x4s attached to my legs so I can.
Yeah, I'm dead serious. Like, when I tell you that, like, I'm not joking. I said it to my wife. I'm like, I don't care what I have to do. They got to outfit me with, steel cages, prosthetic. I'm doing it. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I am not sitting in a wheelchair. And that's all I kept telling myself the entire time throughout this whole process. And as soon as I was able to not be in a wheelchair, I never sat in a wheelchair again.
At what point was that?
Yeah.
At what point did it really transition to you from being able to move your feet and maybe move a little bit to like, maybe your wife was like, oh my God, like, because I'm sure it took maybe a little while for her to buy into your belief.
Well, so what she tells me is my wife is the toughest lady in the world. Like, I know everybody says that about their wives, but trooper. Like, because listen, I talk like I, was the strong, but there was times where, I'm human. I fall to, is this maybe a reality? I might never walk again. And she would just be like, nut up. You're going to walk again. Like, don't even tell yourself that. You're right. I'm going to walk again. Get that out of my head. Get that negative thought process out of your head. It's not even okay. And we get back to it. So I get out of the hospital.
How long were you in the hospital?
7 days.
That's it.
7 days. Because the doctor was like, how you feeling? I'm like, good. I'm ready to start walking again. And he's like, all right, well, you're going to go right to rehab. I'm like, okay, let's go to rehab. Like, I was supposed to leave Thursday and I was pissed because I was supposed to have transport. The transport never showed up. Something got screwed up with the whole thing. So he's like, you got to leave Friday. I'm like, dude, you told me Thursday. Like, I don't want to sit here anymore.
Right.
Like, I've been laying in this bed for 6 days. Like, I'm ready to go. So finally the transport comes. Friday I get to Kessler.
Before you get to Kessler, because I'm pretty sure I saw video of this, right? You leaving the hospital. What does that scene look like?
So the best part about, and I'm a police officer, the law enforcement community, I mean, they set up my transport because they heard there was problems. They set up a transport for me. They were there, escorted. Like, the support that my department and the surrounding agencies, I had people reaching out for me down in South Jersey, Pennsylvania, like PBAs and FOP. I'm like, I said it before, like, I didn't even know I was this liked. Like, this many people are reaching out to me. Like, this is incredible.
I said it only took you a crack back.
You're
on the scene.
Paralyzing myself to finally, get recognized here.
Man.
A little bit of support.
But
No.
you walked out of that hospital?
No. So the
Okay.
hospital I didn't walk out of. I got to rehab. So that Friday I get there and I'm there and I'm like, all right, it's rehab. Like, let's go. So they're like, no, you're getting brought in. Like, we have to do all the paperwork. You're just going to lay here today. I'm like, I thought we were here for rehab, like to start walking. Like, let's go. So I sit there. They do my valuation. They're poking my leg. They're pinching my leg. I can't really feel it, but it was a 50-50 shot. I wouldn't tell them that it wasn't the most sensation, but I just would tell myself, yeah, that was a pinch. That was a poke. And they're like, okay, great. Because in my head, I'm like, if I tell them I can't feel it, I'm telling myself you can't feel it. So kind of like fake it till you make it, So they finally
Interesting time to apply that.
Oh, yeah. Hey, listen, it works.
I was going to say, clearly.
So I get through. They get me in my bed, the whole bit. Friday goes. I don't do anything. Saturday morning, they go to do my assessment. So I'm laying in bed, and I'm at the lowest point in my life. Like I'm like, what if this doesn't work? I start getting negative in my head again. So this little girl walks in that comes to do my assessment. She's like, okay, did you bring clothes? I'm like, yeah, my wife brought clothes. It's in the closet. She grabs my socks, my sweatpants, and a T-shirt. She throws them on the bed, and she's like, get dressed. I'm like, I like this place. They're not here to hold my hand. All right. Okay. So like 45 minutes later, I finally get dressed.
Wow.
Taking my legs and throwing them over.
And then she's like, okay, your PT's done for today.
Exactly, right?
What?
Yeah. So then she's like, all right, have you done transfers yet? And the wheelchair's off of beds. I'm like, no. Like, this is the first time other than messing around doing wheelies on wheelchairs. I've never been in a wheelchair before. So she teaches me how to do a board slide off the bed. And all right, now I'm in the wheelchair. She's like, okay, we're going to go to the PT room. So I wheel in. She's like, you think you can walk? I'm like, yeah, I can walk. So can't walk, but yeah, I can walk.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. So they get me in this harness. They pick me up, and it's this machine where you hold on and you start trying to walk, but it's holding you upright. I'm just dragging my legs. But what I was doing was I was just taking my shoulder and kind of just throwing my leg and like putting all the weight onto this elbow to get the leg to swing. All right, got one step. Same thing with the other. I'm not walking, but I'm getting that sensation that I'm walking. In my mind, I'm walking. My wife's there. I'm like, babe, I'm doing it. I'm walking. I walk 10 feet for anybody. 10 feet for me to, the door away.
Right.
That was huge. I walked. Okay. All right, PT's done. Okay, cool. So I get Saturday's over, Sunday's a rest day at the facility. Monday comes. I finally meet my doctor, my physical therapist. He's like, all right, Mark, what's your goals? I'm like, 1, to walk again, and 2, I'm walking out of here Friday. He's like, that's ambitious. All right. Well, kind of like, let's see if you can do it, but like, it ain't happening. There's not a shot in hell.
Right.
Because everybody's like, they didn't want to tell me, but every one of them was like, he's still going to be in Kessler for Christmas. This is going to take a long time. And I'm like, I'm going to be home with my family, whether my buddies have to come in here and break me out of this place or I walk out, but I'm going to be home with my family on Christmas. Like, it's happening. So he tells me that, and he's like, okay, let's see. So they put me in an uprated walker with stanchions to hold my forearms on the walker. He's like, you think you can do this? I have a belt on. He's holding my belt. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. Every step you put your foot, and again, I'm just tossing my foot. Like, I'm not walking, but I'm tossing it forward. And every time it lands, you physically, mentally have to think to yourself, all right, my pinky toe's here, my other toe's here, my big toe's here. All right, that's down, heel's down. Okay, try to put some weight on it. Every step I try to put a little bit more weight on, till I got, 50 feet. He's like, that's pretty good. He's like, when did this happen? I'm like, 8 days ago, 6 to 7 days ago, or whatever, 10 days ago. And he's like, okay. So we go through that, I get some steps in. He's like, you're going to have to, if you really think you're going to walk out of here, you're going to have to do steps. You're going to have to do 24 steps before you get out of here. I'm looking at the staircase that they have, a pre-made staircase. I'm like,
steps meaning up or down?
Up and down stairs.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, well, we're going to do steps. I'm like, all right, let's do the steps. He's like, we'll do them tomorrow. Let's see if you can do them tomorrow. Okay. So I go through, I do my OT, which is occupational, learning how to use the bathroom, learning how to use a commode, learning how to take care of yourself being paralyzed.
It's fascinating to me. This is only a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking, you hear these stories from people and they're talking like 5 years ago, which is why I thought it was so great to have this now. One, because now anybody who asks you the story, you're just going to send them a link to this, right?
Yeah,
so you don't have to go through it a million times. But two, that it's so fresh. I hear you say these things is to learn how to walk again, to learn how to go to the bathroom. And that was only a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So
it still blows my mind. Like, I always pride myself on, being tough. And, this was like, Jesus. Like, this was the hardest thing. I don't.
Humbling.
I don't care what anybody throws at me anymore. I don't care. Like, dude, I was paralyzed and I was able to get myself walking, and I walked out of rehab in 14 days.
So it was another 7 or so days in rehab?
6 days.
6 days in rehab.
So long story short, the next day I get those stairs. I did 36.
Oh my goodness.
So he's like, all right, well, you really might do this.
Did you prep yourself mentally for that?
Well, I kept telling myself the whole night was I would just imagine what it was like when I used to be able to walk and how I would do it. And again, I would just take that leg and just throw. Listen, I used a lot of arms and a lot of upper body strength to lift myself up, but just that motion, and that's all I kept thinking about. All right, Mark, when you used to walk up steps, you would pick that leg up, put it down, then you would put the weight on that leg, shift your body to to lift the other leg. That's all you got to do. It's all you got to do.
Yeah, visualization, we try to teach that, especially to our kids, right? Where the kids say, I can't, it's impossible, no way. You wrestled.
Yeah.
And a lot of young kids, no way I could beat him, he's too strong. And we try to tell our kids, no, see yourself going through, see the victory in advance. And this is such an awesome example of that, man.
And honestly, that's all, 90% of this, all it was visualizing and mentally just prepping myself. You did this before. You can do it again. Doesn't work the same way, but you did it. All you have to do is move that leg just like you used to and just keep thinking about it. And that's all I did. That's all I did.
Right.
Everybody's injuries are different, and I'm not taking away other people that can't ever do it again. But in my mind, that's all I had to do was just keep visualizing how it used to work. And telling my legs, this is where you got to move.
Was there pain during this, especially like in the hips? Because you mentioned the hips
excruciating.
before, right? It was, right?
Yeah, it was excruciating, but all I just kept doing, listen, it's going to be painful. This is going to suck.
Right.
It doesn't matter. The end goal is you're going to walk. Right. So deal with the pain. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. When I got out of the hospital, I refused all pain meds because, for one, I want to feel this. Like, I need to feel my feet.
Right.
The little sensation that I have, I need to be able to feel it. Yeah. I need to be able to feel where that pain's coming from, because now I'm telling myself, all right, that part of my body is working again. I can feel it. Okay? So, yeah, I'd lay in bed, and they gave me Tylenol after the day was over. And, yeah, I'm excruciating pain, but it doesn't matter. Like, all right, that part of my body started firing. okay.
That's the price of admission.
That's the price of admission. You got to go through pain. Like that's with everything in life. You got to go through the pain. You got to go through the suck, and you got to embrace it.
You say you walked out of rehab, and that was kind of like this anticlimactic thing, but I guess then that's the video that I saw.
Yes.
So can you describe that moment? What it felt like?
Absolutely.
What was going on there?
So I told my physical therapist, all the therapists, the doctors there, I'm walking out Friday. I ended up walking out on Thursday because my roommate at the time, for one, I could never do prison because that's what that place was like. It was excruciating. But I get a new roommate, and he had fallen and hit his head on his vanity and was paralyzed from the neck down.
Ooh.
So, and he was extremely sick. He had a pneumonia. Like, I was up all night. I left my room that Thursday at 2 a.m. and sat in my wheelchair in the family room. And I told the doctors and therapists when they came in, I'm like, I'm leaving today. They're like, well, I'm like, no. Like, I'm leaving today. Wow. You don't understand it. So I go through physical therapy that day, and I call my wife. I'm like, I'm leaving today. She's like, great, I'm already on my way. Let's get you out of there. So I call my chief. I'm like, hey, chief, I'm leaving, because he was there constantly. All my guys were, but he was literally there almost every day, making sure I was okay and I had everything I needed.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I mean, again, I can't thank my department, all the everybody involved, my friends. Like the support was a huge help. So I get done with therapy, whatever. I'm wheeling around as fast as I can, grabbing all my stuff, throwing it in bags. I'm like, I'm out of this place. So like, you gonna walk out? I'm like, absolutely, I'm walking out. So I get downstairs, I wheel up to the door. I'm like, all right, you guys are good. Like, now I can. They're like, yeah, you're free. Like, you're not in our care anymore. I'm like, perfect. Give me the walker. And I walked my ass out of there.
What was that like on the walk out? Like, in other words, was each step that struggle again, or were you walking one foot in front of the other?
I could actually now kind of make the same movements that I was. I mean, it didn't look pretty, but it kind of looked like a newborn deer, But I once I would take that step, I'd steady that leg, I'd be able to lift the other one, get it to move. Because my left hip flexor really didn't start working up until like 2 months ago. So everything I did was with my back, my knees, and my feet. Like, I just compensated for everything.
Okay.
Which probably wasn't the best thing, but it kept me moving. So,
sure.
And it worked.
It worked. So I didn't really care. So, and each step, it was one of my most proudest moments. I was just like,
you had a bunch of people there.
Yeah, a bunch of people are there. They're all clapping, and the police departments, they escorted me home. Like, it was surreal. Everybody came. I get home, my dogs are there, the kids are there. Like, it was just surreal.
Were the kids at the at Kessler for the ride home, or no?
No, I fell the 24th. I didn't see my kids for 10 days. They wouldn't let them in the hospital because I was in a specialty unit that kids weren't allowed.
Okay.
And then at Kessler, they couldn't come until that Sunday when families were allowed to come.
Okay.
They called it Family Day. So that was just emotional, beyond emotion. Like, I haven't seen my kids in this long. Like, this is who I'm doing it for. Like, I need my kids here.
How old are the kids, by the way, Mark?
I got a soon-to-be, well, they're 8, 7, and 6. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, one right in a row.
Wow.
Yeah, every couple months they might be, 1 year older, but in a few months they're all caught back up to each other.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, and then I get home, and every day, every single day, stretching, walking, all day. I mean, there's videos my wife has where it's, she's videotaping me and I'm like trying to chase her. And I'm in a walker and I'm like trying to move my legs faster and faster. But so my goal then when I got home was, I'm going to walk by Christmas.
Okay.
I'm going to walk unassisted by Christmas.
You got home about what, 3 weeks prior to Christmas? When did you actually get home?
So
Remember?
it was 13 days after the accident.
Okay, so it's like the 6th or the 7th, roughly.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Okay.
I told her, like, I'm going to walk unassisted before Christmas. By Christmas, I'm walking without anything. No cane, no walker, no nothing.
Oh, man.
I started walking, I think it was the 19th without anything. And then I told her I'm going to be able to run by New Year. The 28th or 29th, I was able to do a slight little jog.
Insanity.
I just mentally in my head, this is what I'm doing. This is the goal, and this is what I'm going to do.
Man.
Whether my body likes it or not, I'm doing it.
Whether doctors like it or not.
Right.
The first time I saw my doctor, well, before I left the hospital, I told the doctor, I said, I'm going to walk in to your office. He's like, okay, that's a good goal to have. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Whether I'm doing it on my hands or with a walker, I'm walking in your office. Walked in with a walker. The next time I went to see him, this was funny. This was now a little over a month. I walk in. No, it was like a month and 2 weeks. The first time I went, he allowed me to start driving because I was able to move my feet like pretty well. So, or maybe it was the second time I went to go see him. But regardless, I drove myself there. My wife didn't come because she was taking care of the kids or whatnot. I walk into the office, and he's like, I didn't hear any clicking or clacking. Where? I'm like, because I'm not using anything. He's like, where's your wife? Like, he's looking behind the door to see if I'm hiding on him or whatnot. I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. Like, I don't have anything. He's like, let me see you walk. I walk in front of the whole office. There's patients there. He goes, holy fuck.
What?
In front of everybody. And he's like, how? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, you're like a year ahead of schedule if you were to ever walk again.
If
you were ever to walk again.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, Doc, you did a hell of a job because I'm walking.
He's like, would you mind doing a testimonial before you leave?
Yeah. Can we get this on video?
Oh, man.
And he's just blown away. So now he's like, all right. I'm like, so when can I like start doing things? He's like, well, you need 3 months before your back's even healed. We're like a month and a half out of your injury. Your back's not even healed yet. You got to wear this brace. Like I'm like, okay.
What does the healing actually consist of in something like that, where you have a lolly column, as you explained it, in your back? Like, what is it like fusion of tendons?
So the calcium, I guess, needs from your bones to actually start fusing around all the bolts and all
Amazing.
the now fake discs that are in my back. That all needed to fuse, so this way it's now part of my body. I don't know. Medical technology is just insane.
Mind blowing.
Mind blowing.
Now you can't fly anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, do I need a card or something? He's like, no, you should be all right. I'm like, okay.
It's deep enough for there.
Yeah. He's like, it's mostly all titanium anyway. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever.
Wow.
You know, like it's
So
just
yeah. So then he's trying to slow you down.
yeah. So he was trying to slow me down, but that wasn't happening. I got home. And through all this, like I was doing stretching and whatnot. Then he's like, all right, you can pick up 10 pounds. So then I'm like, okay. So me and my wife, we work out a lot together. I'm downstairs trying to just get right back into the workout routine. Legs really aren't strong. I can't, hold a lot of weight. But I'm taking those 10 pounds and I'm, if I'm squatting 3 inches, great. I'm still squatting.
Right.
Well,
even an upper body workout had to be difficult because of the lack of core, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would take bands, wrap them around my leg, and pull my legs in just to get that momentum of constantly just getting the feel. Like, mentally, my body is doing it, so I'm seeing it. Everything's connecting. All right, it's working. And then it just carry on, if I could squat down just a little bit, okay, I can squat. All right, tomorrow you're going to squat a little more. You're going to go a little deeper. You're going to go a little more. You're going to take 10 more steps. You're going to jog a little bit farther. To the point then, when I was able to finally get on my excavator at the house, my buddy helped me climb up on it, but I got on, started running. Like, just doing it, even though I didn't do it good, just that momentum of getting it done. Mentally to me, all right, check that box. Did it. All right, I'm going to be able to do this again. You know, every day I would just tell myself, listen, just get through the day. Just check these boxes off. You know what you need to do today. Don't waste the time. Don't sit here and, you know, sob to yourself that, oh, this sucks. This hurts. This isn't.
Right.
You just knock them out. Just keep doing it.
So you're doing this every single day. Today is about roughly 4.5 months, roughly, past the actual fall, the accident. You told us before you, I think you said, I finally went back to jiu-jitsu, as if it's been so long, right? So you're back at jiu-jitsu, you're running. Are you back? Are you on the job? Are you in uniform?
Yeah.
So all of this. So I guess the question I have is there daily pain right now in the day-to-day?
Yeah, it's not pain. It's more like a stiffness. Like when I get out of bed now in the morning after sleeping all night, it's just like it takes me a couple extra seconds. Like I got to stretch. I got to, you know, and it's
Oil.
yeah, little lubricant. You know, no, it's the pain's there, but it's gotten substantially better. Now it's just really stiffness, just getting everything moving again. Like even before I go to train. Like, I got to stretch a little bit more than I ever used to.
Right.
You know, I got to get everything warmed up. But once it's warmed up, I forget about it now. Which could be a bad thing, but, you know, lifting things that I probably shouldn't be lifting yet, but it's all bolted together in my mind. Where's it going to go?
Right,
know?
exactly. What do the doctors say about you rolling in jiu-jitsu and working out? Or are they going to find out when they listen to this podcast?
No, so the day he cleared me to go back to full duty, I'm like, all right, I can go back to training. He's like, if you think you need to. I went back that night.
Oh, my goodness.
I went and trained that night. Like, he told me, he's like, you have no restrictions. Like, do you just try to be careful. I'm like, okay, like I'll be careful, but I'm going, I didn't fight this hard to just take it easy. Like, listen, when I mean take it easy, like I'm not taking unnecessary risks.
Right.
You know, some people might think, doing jiu-jitsu is unnecessary risk, but if you're doing it properly and you
pick the right people,
you know what you're doing,
right.
It's a lot safer than you think.
Right.
I'm just forever grateful to be able to walk again, to be able to just do what I did. And it was just a blip on the radar for me. And, I was not sitting in a wheelchair. Like,
clearly.
From day one, was not happening.
How's about the tree stand? Have we looked at it? Have we touched it? Have we climbed it?
I haven't climbed it yet.
Okay.
Not because there just hasn't been a fear. I just honestly
not yet.
Don't even think about it. I'm just like, all right, whatever. But
do you have a desire to hunt again, or you do?
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to be more careful.
Right.
But I'm not. If I get into a car accident, am I never going to drive again?
Right. Exactly.
You can't let it scare you for the rest of your life where you're never. I was never afraid of heights, but now I'm like, I get up on a ladder. I'm like, there's a lot of people that I know in rehab that fell from a lot lower than this, that was in rehab from this. Like it's always in the back of my head, but I'm never going to not do it again.
No, you're just more aware.
Just more aware and just be more careful. Not as, I would never say I was reckless, but you don't need to race somebody down a tree stand that doesn't exist there. Like, everything I always do has to be proficient, fast, and sometimes just like slow some things down.
Right.
A little bit. But I'm going back to my regular life. I have been. Nothing's going to change me. Nothing's going to stop it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap this up, and thank you for taking the time and sharing. That story
Appreciate
with us. I actually think that story has the power to literally change a bunch of people's lives and the outcome of their lives in various stages of recovering either from injury or just challenges in life in general, because there's so many lessons packed in there. But what would you say you've learned that's most important to you through this process that you could share with somebody who is going through either a tough time, whether it be business, financial, physical? What has this taught you so they don't have to go through something like this to learn that same lesson?
Don't ever think of yourself as a victim. Don't ever have that victim mentality. Woe is me. Yeah, things happen to everybody. I'm sure you guys have had things that didn't go your way.
Mm-hmm.
If you give up, what you gave up, like you're never gonna overcome it if you give up. Visualization. People don't realize the power of visualization.
Yeah.
You know, like people say they have their vision boards. Yeah, I do too. Like, the more you keep thinking about it, looking at it, visualizing yourself being in that situation, you're going to get there. It might take a little time, but you're going to get there. In my situation, I visualized myself every step, every time I would walk, every time I would sit up. You did it before. You can do it again. This is how you do it. Remember how you used to do it and do it. And it happens. Visualization is so powerful with your mind and body connection. It's, I look at me. It works.
Yeah.
It works, and just, you can't give up.
What about your wife, man? So when she went home, you got 3 kids, 6, 7, and 8. She knows that her husband, the caretaker, the provider, the defender, protector, everything, right?
Yeah.
He's there. He's in the hospital. Then he's, at rehab. And then you're home and you're going through rehab at home. What if maybe, I don't know if she openly shared that, like, what was going through her mind each and every moment?
So her father was in a wheelchair for 8 years.
Oh,
he got hit on a motorcycle. So she already went through something like this when she was a little kid.
This almost feels scripted. I swear, everyone. I swear I didn't know. Did you know that? No. Okay, so did not know that. So this is crazy.
He got hit on a motorcycle and shattered his legs. So he was in a wheelchair for 8 years. And they went through some really rough times. So she kind of already was like, I'm going to live, this life again. But the more I would be like, babe, there's nothing to it. Like, we're going to get through it. She's like, I know we are. Like, she never once doubted it. Never once. She helped me. Oh God, I love this woman. Like, she she never once doubted it. And every time something would go that, I'm like, I would get pissed at myself. Oh, I can't move my leg this way that I wanted when we're laying in bed. She's like, all right, Mark, you're going to move it. We're going to get there. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Any doubt I ever had, she would reassure me. No, it's going to happen. Just give it time. Like, she said she broke down one time, and it was the second day that I was in the hospital, and she said, she just told herself, you're not helping anybody acting like this. You're not helping anybody acting like a victim. You're not, we're going to get through it. And that mindset just got her through and got me through.
Yep.
The worst thing that ever could, in my eyes, could really happen, opposed to being dead. Like,
let's pray that is the very worst thing you ever faced.
Let's hope I faced the worst that's going to happen to me. But thank God, the support and the mental attitude just got me to where I am today.
It's awesome, man.
This might be the first time since it happened that you've been able to, in depth, really talk through
100%
this whole thing. So after getting through all of that and decompressing, now back at full duty and all that, is there anything that maybe, and if not, that's fine too, but maybe anything you want to tell your wife or your kids that when they listen to this for the first time, they'll hear at the end that maybe you haven't had the chance to share?
I mean, I definitely have told them a million times, like, my kids, like, I'm, sitting on the couch, or when I was in the rehab, like, Daddy, what can we do for you? What can we help you with? What can we, like, that child mentality, like, left their heads. Like, my daughters became like nurturers. It was insane. My son, like, I told him when, he was there, and I'm like, hey, listen, buddy, you're the man of the house. Like, that little dude, he's my youngest. He carried in wood for the fireplace. Like, he stepped up. Like, and I'm just so proud of him. My wife just being the most solid human being. Like, when I tell you I'm the luckiest and most blessed person, like my family is just second to none. Like, and I'm just forever grateful for it.
Well, and I'll take that one step further and say that for all that to play out in that moment is a testament to the foundation that was built there in that home and all the time leading up to that. So as
Thank you.
As leaders in this world and of families, it is ironic that sometimes when we need it most, it's the fruits of what we've all worked together to create that that we need to keep us there.
And you don't even know you're doing it.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Wow.
It's awesome.
It's been a blessing to sit here and hear this. There's a whole bunch of times in that talk that I literally asked myself, would I do that? Right. And I don't think anybody knows until they're in that situation.
100%.
Right? How it's going to play out. So, thankful for you inspiring us, for giving us the time and to share. And
Thank you.
Thank you. What's a tragedy in the moment that turned into a really powerful moment.
Thank you for giving me the platform to speak about it. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.